I care. I care about others. I care about injustices. And call me an idealist, but I fundamentally believe that everyone can make a difference. I was raised by a single mom who is a lawyer and a feminist activist who inspired me to care about others and about injustices. So it was an obvious choice that I took on a career path working in development sector, focusing on empowering women. So after my studies, almost 20 years ago, I know what you're thinking now. She's either brilliant or she's old. So I started working in Yemen as a consultant. So here you can see me working with Yemeni women on contraception, discussing contraception and family planning. And then 10 years later, I worked in Ghana. I was the head of the decentralization program there, and I lived for 3 years there. And this is a picture that was taken 2 months ago. And I know this is still my favorite dress. So, so this was a picture taken with my former boss, Angela Merkel, who advised on policies for Africa. So personally, I've come a long way working with really powerful people in interesting contexts. But looking back, I wish that back then I realized what I know today, that some of our assumptions are actually not that helpful to pave the way for sustainable tomorrow. So at the end of this talk, I would like you to feel slightly uncomfortable, but don't worry, it's going to be good, and rethink some of your assumptions and ideally act on it. So let's look at this. Number 1, the problem lies somewhere else. Assumption number 2 that many of us have is we know what's best for others. And number 3, what we do just leads to progress. So this is going to be tough love with a happy outlook, because I'm inspired by sustainable goal number 17, which is partnership. And there should be one takeaway from this talk, is that we all need to partner up for a sustainable tomorrow. And this is why I want to address concerned citizens, businesses, and also development experts. So let's start with the assumptions. The problem lies somewhere else. This is a picture I took some years ago in Ghana, in Accra, and it's a waste management site. And the reason I'm showing you this is because when we read about poverty and natural disasters, it often feels very far away. But if you take a closer look here, you see a bike from Denmark, a plastic toy from the US, a car part from Germany, and a phone from China. So the waste and the consumption we produce, they really have repercussions somewhere else, because they get dumped into places that often do not have the means for recycling. So the problem is not somewhere else, but it starts with us in our consumption. Assumption number 2, we know what is best for others. So the video I'm going to show you in a second, it captures an important moment in my career. I was heading a delegation of decentralization experts, and we were in northern Ghana in Wa. And I was thanked by officials and school children for the assistance we provided for school. So I want to share this moment with you. So what's wrong with this moment? Are you feeling what I was thinking in this moment? As I was driving home, and I was taken by a driver to my gated community, and then I sat next to the pool, and I started to wonder why I was sipping my cocktail. What's wrong? How did I get in this place? I came here to help, but it feels really odd. And I started to think about my assumptions and where they come from. And basically, it starts in kindergarten, when I was told, finish your plate Children in Africa are starving. I'm sure you've heard this before in kindergarten. So I came with this assumption to Africa that I felt sorry for others and that others should have or lead the life that I have. And I thought, that just somehow feels wrong, because who am I as a white privileged woman to know what's better for others? And so many of our development programs are based on these assumptions. We go to places thinking we know better and we feel sorry because we, from our perspective, feel like we succeeded and we're going to fix all the problems that are over there. So this is assumption number 2. Assumption number 3, what we do leads to progress. So what you see here is a pile of books that are all expert books on criticizing development cooperation and really finding that there's basically very little evidence or correlation between development cooperation and development. So the fact is, a lot of it doesn't actually work. And there's all this evidence out there. And there's even Africans saying, please stop giving aid. But governments continue doing more of the same. So why is this so? Because it's a huge industry. So in 2020, $160 billion were spent on official development assistance. So this creates many wrong incentives. For instance, why should programs ever stop? There's always more to consult. There's always another problem to fix. And as a result, this really has negative repercussions on the ground. For instance, in Yemen, we would hire drivers that were actually teachers, but they would prefer to work for us because they made more money. Or in Ghana, we were 44 different development partners. We're all telling the Ghanaian government what to do. So how is this helpful? Just imagine you're trying to build a house and you have 44 different advisors pulling you in different directions. It's really, really messy. So I promised you tough love with a happy outlook. And my point is, it's not that we should stop caring or that we should give less. And actually, there's lots of successful development programs out there and really hard-working people. But my point is, with all the knowledge that is out there and all this expertise, I think we can fundamentally do better. We just need to rethink some of our assumptions. So I want to go through them, and you think with me, please, if there's one thing and one assumption that you could change. So let's go through them. Number 1, the problem lies somewhere else. No, it doesn't. Resources are limited. We're all interconnected. Our choices that we do as consumers, they matter. They have an impact somewhere else. Who we buy from and what the business does, it has an impact. So we need to be very conscious in our consumer choices. And what I would like to shout out to businesses and governments, if a business causes so much damage and waste, shouldn't they be responsible for it, even if it goes beyond borders? Assumption number 2. We know what's best for others. Actually, we don't. We really need to listen and engage. Feeling sorry for someone else doesn't help anyone. So after the moment I had at this pool in Ghana, sipping my cocktail, thinking about why I was even there, I shifted my mood. I started to listen more. And I felt I had the most impact when I listened closely, when I was considerate, when I engaged, and just got rid of my arrogance that my lifestyle was in any way superior. And to governments, I want to say that being abroad should really be a career booster. As it is now, careers are made in Western capitals, and the expertise from abroad is not valued enough. But we need to make sure that it is valued and decisions are made on the ground and not far away in Western capitals. Number 3, what we do leads to progress. I think we should be bold and rethink and redesign incentives. Like, how can we design a program so there are actually exit strategies? And how can we make sure that consultants kind of make themselves obsolete? And how come that on the ground, governments still have the EU, the US, the Japanese agency, all coming in with different ideas if we do have the United Nations, that we could all be under one roof? I also think we should focus much more on strategies and initiatives like the G20 Compact with Africa, which focuses much more on investments rather than charity. But most importantly, I think this is too big. This is too big of a challenge to be left to governments alone. We need everyone on board. We need partnerships. We need partnerships with civil society and with businesses. So rather than watching the world unfold as it is, I think everyone can take a step and do something different and shape our future. Just as an example, I recently thought much more about what kind of society I want to live in Germany. So I started a podcast that gives female voices a room to speak on very important societal issues. So what I'm saying is, let's not do more of the same, but do something different. My mom always says, it's all in us. We know what's right. We just need to do it. So at the end of this talk, I hope you do feel a little bit uncomfortable. But most importantly, I hope that you have this moment that I had at the pool in Ghana, where you think about one assumption that you can change. Thank you very much.